please smash that like. All right, so look here. All right, 279 says, this sounds like Jasmy. Think about this for a second. I've gotten requests stating, Max, please give us an update in regards to the super wallet. You guys have heard the hints about it, but is there anything really more from the official team about it? Not yet. We understand the concept of NDAs and so on. So had to dig a little deeper, and I do give these guys shout outs because it helps with some of their references and so on. As you guys know, when I do deep dives and recorded, hey, you know what? I can find a lot of my own material, but I always love it when there's already some bits and pieces to, bring and present, because it definitely takes out the how time-consuming things can be when it comes to looking up research. So 279 says, it sounds like Jasmy. I would agree. Look what's mentioned here. It incorporates IC card hardware-related techniques, mutual authentication, and cryptographic communication techniques. The hardware wallet enables secure signature processing within the secure element of the IC card. This development was announced in a press release all the way back in 2018, and a patent application was filed in 2019. Now, I haven't been able to confirm the exact patent application, but if you guys have been watching some of the deep dive videos, if you specifically remember the one that has in the thumbnail, Kazamasa Sato, it literally says Jasmy Bombshell, shows two bombs, if you will, with Jasmy logos on it, and it says the Sony patents. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It does confirm what was originally speculative in regards to those patents, right? So, like he says, sounds like a super wallet, quote, IC card wallet times Felica times personal information management. We have covered Felica in the past. No, it's not by Felicia. It's Felica. Says, I wonder if Jasmy's super wallet has such features. Since 2018. Of course, he's thanking this person who's level 8, and I have shared quite a bit of information from level 8. Now, speaking of level 8, let's jump into this. And if anything, we're going to give you some interpretation. So we're going to pull this up, and if anything, level 8 has this all written in Japanese. I refreshed it, wasn't able to interpret it, but I did go to the link. And in that link, it brings you to this from the PR Times. And in the PR Times, you're going to see a few key things. And we are now starting to get into some of the juicy stuff, if you will. All right. Back on August 17th of 2022, and again, this is interpreted from Japanese to English, so it's not perfect interpretation. But it does state, Final Aim and Sony Design Consulting comments proof of concept using, yes, you saw it right, IC card type hardware wallet in Web3 areas. Final Aim Co. is actually headquartered in Delaware. They have, for instance, Masafumi Asakura is the director. This other person, and also look who's mentioned, Sony Design Consulting, headquartered in Tokyo. They are working together in this Web3 domain. They have started, at least back then, a demonstration experiment using a quote-unquote hardware wallet. Now, Sony Design Consulting times Final Aim came out with this, like it says, in recent years, Web3 tech, and also is decentralized next-generation internet. They have been gaining popularity, at least back then, especially in the United States. And we have seen many more hardware wallets become that much more popular. Heck, you guys have seen me talk about the Citadel hardware wallet from Hedera and how big that's going to be, especially here soon. So it says that they believe there are basically large, undeveloped areas in the deployment of Web3 tech to existing industries such as the design and manufacturing. Since its founding in 2019, Final Aim Limited has been working on blockchain technology with the mission of making Web3 tech widely used, not only to the, by the people with high financial and IT literacy, but also regardless of nationality, race, gender, et cetera, et cetera. They are proceeding, at least they were then, with the research and development of, for instance, back in 2021, but they also globally launched a beta version of Final Chain. And that is basically a Web3 platform for design and digital manufacturing, and have applied for 3 in international patents. Now, back to Sony for a second. It says, as Sony Computer Sciences Laboratories, based on the knowledge of the contactless IC card technology, think about what's mentioned there. How many times has Jasmy mentioned a contactless society because of, post-COVID? And how many times they mentioned Felica? I'm just throwing that out there before we get more into this. States that Sony has cultivated over many years, and it's used not only for payments, but also for a wide range of applications such as personal information management. Come on, guys. Connecting the dots. Who's all over personal information management like Fat Kid on Cake? Jasmy. Through what? Personal data lockers. Again, follow me on this. For this purpose, we are developing hardware wallet tech. You heard Hara talk about this. And also at IVS Crypto and the other particular blockchain conferences, he did mention some of these things, and also in AMAs. It says, including IC card, hardware related technology, and mutual authentication, encryption, communication technology, this hardware wallet enables secure signature processing inside the secure element of the IC card. Of course, there's a press release all the way back to 2018 in reference to this, and also a patent application back in 2019. Now, in regards to 2019, there was many different patent applications from who? Kazumasa Sato. Of course, we know the Sony ties. So it says, so far, both Final Aim and Sony Design Consulting have been conducting joint research on design since 2020. Now, in order to further deepen the joint research partnership between the two companies in the Web3 area, they will start demonstration experience with IC card type hardware wallets and tokens issued by Final Aim. And think about what's mentioned there. Now, here's kind of idea of what this is about. Final Chain with hardware wallet proof of concept. People are literally saying that this is the inception back in so long ago of Jasmy's super wallet. So let's get more into this. There's an outline of the experiment. It talks about, for instance, how you're going to be able to use tokens with the IC card type hardware wallets, the possibilities of developing tokens and protocols in the design area, explore the possibility of protocol development, Web3 tech, utilizing hardware wallets, industrial design, digital manufacturing, explore the possibilities of blockchain tech using hardware wallets in other areas compared to what you saw above, such as the metaverse. How many times do you see Jasmy reference some of that stuff? Let's jump back about this part about the role of Sony Design Consulting. Sony Design Consultant Services, IC card type hardware wallets, and conducts demonstration experience on how to use blockchain in a secure environment in the future, including support for blockchain tech from the design field. Role of Final Aim, look what's mentioned here, will issue tokens using their Web3 platform, Final Chain, and provide a platform for demonstration experiments, and will proceed with consideration of protocol development in the design and digital manufacturing industries. And look what's shown here. I mean, this is all AI, Internet of Things, to say the least. Top left is definitely like an Internet of Thing type of thing. Some of the mechanical parts, some of the face recognition. Bottom left where it says blockchain certified. Okay. But it says, all this stuff that's referenced to Sony, okay? And this right here with the mission statement. Discovering together and leading future possibilities, we will continue to improve the quality of design, support management through design, and organize and strengthen the role of design in relation to industrial property rights. In addition, we will carry out all efforts, including the POC. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that's mentioned here, and it talks about some of the background of iMetrics in Japan, 3D scanning eyewear service from Switzerland. I mean, this is all over the place, like digital tokens in the metaverse, establishing cooperation or I should say a corporation in the United States, all big stuff. Now, some people right there, if they just connected, they'd be like, this is just all speculative. And I wouldn't be able to blame anybody for that. But as I got more into this, I'm going to show you this. And that is, basically speaking, this right here. And this was posted just a few days ago. This guy, he basically states, any idea when Jasmy token will run its own blockchain? How many times have we referenced some of this? How many times have we mentioned that Jasmy eventually will have its own blockchain? All the people complaining about it being an ERC20 token and so on. So it says, I know we have the Jasmy platform on its own chain, but what about the token? And of course, he says, sorry, if it's a dumb question. It's not a dumb question. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. It's like there's people that are ignorant, right? Who stay ignorant basically just means, not informed. But if a person wants to be informed, are they really ignorant? No. Sorry, this is a dumb question. He's trying to sort out through some aspects of the token. I mean, a lot of people feel this way. But anyway, like it shows right here, Jasmy is in fact an ERC20 token, but Horus said their team planned to link Jasmy to a different chain. Basically, is there any news on when exactly that might happen? Well, you got to keep in mind, we want that confirmed. There's also the concept of NDAs. But here's a quote, of course, from Hara, and that basically is the proprietary chain they use on the Jasmy IoT as an Internet of Things platform is actually not open source. Now, think about this for a minute. It says, we are often asked if we use ERC20, but although the crypto asset Jasmy is ERC20, the platform is built on consortium chain, which is infinitely larger. What I just showed you, is that a perfect example? I think it is. Currently, we are testing a bridge to another chain to expand the token ecosystem and ensure liquidity as the gas problem of ERC20 is a focal point. Oh, they're finally recognizing this? Yeah, just because some people complain about being an ERC20 token doesn't mean that they're oblivious to the whole concept that is a consistent complaint. They recognize complaints just like any other blockchain or dev would recognize that is not an attractive thing about it. Sure, they're on Hyperledger Fabric, but at the end of the day, they are an ERC20 token, and it is, like it says, a focal point. In the future, we plan for Jasmy to be linked and run with our own chain. So, when will they have a wallet is the basic thing here, right? And look what it mentions here. And that is basically this. The two categories of Jasmy Club and Jasmy Pro, and we'll enter into the Jasmy Pro part in a bit. I will read this. I'll kick it back to the comments for just a brief bit. But Jasmy Club, like it says, will be that hub for community members to socialize with each other and representatives utilizing NFTs. However, Jasmy Pro focuses on developing the Jasmy Super Wallet, and this wallet specifically will be the interoperable with both centralized finance and decentralized finance user interfaces. We can expect the Jasmy Super Wallet to be completed by end of year. And I think that's going to happen personally. That's just my own belief. I could be wrong, but I think that definitely happens. Because, like it shows right here, the wallet is the user interface for Jasmy blockchain and will be needed for the data market, which should launch by, just like it also says, end of year. Now, that right there is like, okay, that's from Reddit and so on, but a lot of this flows right. It just makes sense. When I get into this next part, you're going to see some actual real references from where the actual jasmylab.com site. And on top of that, we're going to get into some of the other findings on how we're going to tie it all in together for you can just get a little bit more, support of how convincing, in my opinion, this is. So smash that like. We're going to jump more into some of this Jasmy content. All right, so here we go. Let's kick it into the actual Jasmy Lab site. Some of you guys have seen this site. Some of you guys have not seen this site. And it's okay. So here it is. All right. We did talk about Jasmy Club. We talked about Jasmy Pro. Look what's mentioned in regards to, the first one on the left. Jasmy Club mainly conducts project consulting business. In addition, they will provide various opportunities for interactions, such as strengthening the web strengthening the community and providing a Web3 salon. Jasmy Pro promotes the development of Jasmy Super Wallet, like we were talking about. They mix C DeFi's UI UX so that you can access Binance without the Binance app. This is why in the past, I don't know if you guys remember me saying this, that eventually we're going to get to the point, especially when it comes to Jasmy, that we won't even have to sweat the whole thing of, oh no, we got delisted from, Binance US. And look how that turned out. In reality, that was a blessing in disguise, because look what happened, with the SEC going after them and so on. So we also understand what recently happened, right? We get that, with the whole thing of the Ripple victory and so on. It was technically speaking like a big victory for various other cryptocurrencies, Algorand, Polygon, anything that was on that big long list. I guess you could say even Luna Classic. I don't know. But my point is that this further solidifies that you can access Binance without the Binance app, for instance. Now, I want to show you guys just a little bit more in regards to some of this, okay? And basically speaking, there's obviously a lot to the site, right? But I want to show you this, and it's on this next page. Here it is. Hopefully you can see it. Let me just double check you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. All right. So on this one, this is good stuff. So this guy states, and I'm glad that he can at least recognize that Jasmy is a sleeping giant, right? Because he does have the Saitama avatar, but it's all right. I don't want to create tribalism, but all right. Jasmy is a sleeping giant with 48 billion supply. It will hit $1, no doubt, target 17. But what's cool here is what he retweeted from this guy, who is Sana Pharaoh. And if anything, I'll blow this up more for you guys. Okay. And give me just a second to make sure that you guys can see that, because sometimes you guys can't see it. All right. You guys definitely see it. So this guy says, I don't think folks realize that Jasmy execs, prior to Sony execs, are playing crypto chess, not checkers. And some people give a lot of credit, but also a lot of harsh feedback when it comes to these former Sony executives. Like, they think that these guys are like the puppet masters pulling all these crazy strings, creating a scam and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case. And I know some of you guys have seen some of this reference. We're going to show you again, and we're also going to show you some of the highlights. Yeah, again, shout out to GF Burke, right? He doesn't like me showing the 1990s Sony Vaio laptop and so on. So I'm not going to quite do that, but it's going to show a little bit about that. Look what's circled here. Blockchain PCs in cooperation in development of devices and databases. Microsoft, Intel. Collaboration with overseas device companies in Asia as well as Japan. Vaio, Avita, Sony, and so on. The realization of secure data collection and its application by secure PC functions. Data selection. Considering privacy by Jasmy's original Edge AI engine. Platinum data, or as they would say, platinum data for happiness. Aggregation by personal data loggers. Now, as you get more into this, check this out. And on this one, I definitely will blow it up more, because I think it needs to have its, proper emphasis. I think you guys can see that. So on this one, look what's mentioned. And oh, by the way, Care is also partnered with who? Ripple. Ripple was also the diamond sponsor of who? IVS Crypto 2023. Who was also at IVS Crypto 2023? Jasmy. They're not direct partners, but, definitely gets honorable mention. All right, Medical DX. Look what's mentioned here. Look what's highlighted here. With Jasmy Personal Data Locker, an era when individuals carry electronic medical records, individuals provide medical data and get rewards. Think about that for a second. Medical data and get rewards. We've been talking about this concept of monetizing your data by holding a personal data locker for quite some time. Individuals, like it says, provide medical data, get rewards. Each medical institution can safely send and receive data. There's no duplication of personal medical data. And you see what's referenced. CARE SBT platform, IPFS. It goes from this SBT smart contract from the blockchain and kicks it over to the actual metadata. Now it's kind of blurred right there. That's the biggest I can make it. But it gives you a little breakdown. So, if you're seeing this, let's see how it looks on the screen real quick. So you want to emphasize on the lower left-hand area of this. And if anything, I'll come out of the screen to give you an idea of how this works. Let me just come up here. So you do see, for instance, the DApp, right? User uses the wallet. For instance, the patient, right, on the far left, uses his wallet to connect to the actual DApp. Medical professional also uses their wallet to connect to the DApp. The medical office, for instance, uses a wallet to connect to the DApp on the front end. Kicks it over to, for instance, the blockchain through the smart contract. You see where it goes to IPFS through the metadata. It even gives you an idea on the back end, right? Come back into the frame. And let's see. All right, cool. Top right area, draw your emphasis on this. CARE project partners with Jasmy to democratize data. We know about this. Incorporating Jasmy personal data lockers in clinics, secure personal information management, boost user value. I'll jump down to this real quick. This part's good stuff as well. So on this, I should have turned up the AC more, man. My legs are sticking to the darn chair. This is good stuff. Promotion of seamless movement by advanced MaaS linkage. Okay. So on this one, we have done the whole concept of MaaS. So, if you missed the deep dive on that, I think me and Crypto Smith might have done it. I might have done it myself. Maybe it was a combination of both. I can't remember. Check out the video section. Just in case you weren't aware of it, let's give you a refresher. MaaS efforts to solve problems are continuing to progress throughout the country, as in Japan, as a result of past efforts. In the future, in order to realize more seamless, comfortable, and convenient transportation service that transcends areas and businesses, they will cooperate with MaaS initiatives in each region. And not only transportation operators in each region, but also operators in other fields to promote cooperation, etc. Implementation of MaaS that realizes seamless mobility across areas, because as we know that MaaS stands for mobility as a service. You're going to see what's mentioned here. And then this part I will read because it's hard for you guys to see it. I don't think you're going to be able to see it unless you get really close to your television or I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on the cell phone. It says intensive support will be provided for initiatives aimed at wide area collaboration and initiatives that enable cooperation or collaboration among a wide range of business operations, such as the use of My Number cards. I mean, you may be wondering, I see what Max is doing with here. He did a deep dive last time about My Number cards. Yes, they did. And you got to understand, My Number cards, a lot of people in Japan are kind of pissed off about it. You have official, Jasmy, or not Jasmy, excuse me, the Japanese government are kind of, or not the government, but the people of Japan are kind of upset about it. But that bad news is actually good news for Jasmy because it could create that much more supply and demand. And we already have had the confirmation, have we not, of how Jasmy, with the management team and so on, has close ties to the government. Genki Oda of BitPoint, also part of SBI, for instance, is a policy maker for Japan. So well connected. Look what's mentioned here. Number cards aiming to build a collaboration platform that spans areas and fields, organize necessary prerequisites, requirements, functions, etc. Support for business operations, and I know that you guys can't see this. I should say operators, working on formulation and evaluation of new mobility service business plans. And it gives you some ideas here, but It says, left by introducing the same PF application platform throughout Kyushu, seamless mobility as a service services are provided over a wide area. I'm telling you guys flat out, this is the whole breakdown of everything coming together for a collaborative operation to create Society 5.0. And if you had to put a number on what, I don't know, part of where we're at, I would say it's about, Society 4.5 is what we're in. Just like we're not fully into Web 3. We're at like what, Web 2.5 or whatever you want to call it. But we will get there. Just like Japan is going to get there when it comes to being and, putting all this stuff together. Jasmy's working with the government. Jasmy's doing, collaborations with other companies with the Internet of Things to pull it all in, to make it all come together. It says, by linking My Number cards and transportation IC cards to provide citizens discounts. Look, what you can't see it, so I'm going to say don't look at it. Provide citizens discounts for public transportation. People criticize, for instance, Jasmy's, utility layer. Oh, nobody's going to use this personal data lockers. Okay, we're not to that MaaS implementation yet. Just like even when we talk about Ripple's XRP the other day, right? That was a huge win for Ripple. But in reality, is XRP being fully utilized? No. If it was being fully utilized, it'd be worth a hell of a lot more than what, guys? 70 to 82 cents or whatever, right? We know that. It's the utility that needs that mass adoption. So therefore, are we going to invest in this stuff, right, during this accumulation phase and so on? While it's, as people say, we're so early. Yes, we're still early. There's still, what is Jasmy, Ripple's XRP, Stellar's XLM, you name it. We're still very, very early because we don't have that mass adoption yet. I'm going to jump into this last part down here. Promotion of digitalization of transportation operators, which is essential for MaaS implementation, as in, not metaverse, mobility as a service implementation. You got to keep in mind with all this terminology, MaaS also means metaverse as a service, but not in this case. Okay, it means mobility as a service. Raising the level of SMEs, etc., who have not progressed in digitalization in order to realize data linkage in a wide area, efficiency and sophistication of management and services through a DX, accumulation, and listen to this part. I know it's hard for you to see this because it's, the guy took a screenshot, I guess, with his cell phone, and I'm trying to magnify it for you guys and just kind of get smudged. But if you are able to see it, it's the bottom left area, and think about what's mentioned there. Accumulation of payment data enables more sophisticated services and realizes seamless movement without cash. Yes, the whole concept of going from a pro-cash society, which Japan definitely was, to a society that wants to have seamless movement, right, through the Internet of Things, through also using, for instance, Jasmy's personal data lockers that is going to incentivize people to utilize their utility layer because you have the option of monetizing it. Who wouldn't want to do that? This last part on the bottom right, and then we're going to get into some of the grand finale, if you will, because I know probably some of you guys want me to talk about something else. Support the introduction of new mobility such as bicycle sharing, electric kickboards, and green slow mobility. All right. Support for the introduction of AI on-demand transportation. So it's just, again, that seamless way of being able to travel and be able to get rewarded for doing so. You don't think that is a massive utility layer? I think it basically is. Now, before I kick it into this next part, because there's quite a bit of sharing here, I'm going to show you guys this last page before I kick it into the actual back to the comments. So let me jump back to this. And I want to show you guys this. This is good stuff. This highlights some key areas. Let me pull up the other page. It's going to get smudged again because, again, somebody took it with it. Now, you know, on this one, maybe they took it with an actual PC, you know, instead of a cell phone. All right, let me double check that you can see it. You can. Good stuff. Let's share this with you guys before we kick it back in the comments. Blockchain system. Think about what you mentioned there. Decentralized data management using blockchain promotes, and we know this, the democratization of data and is trying to change the structure of social structures and business ecosystems. Here's one of the great kickers at Sony. Yes, that's why he circles it. We are working to develop decentralized solutions using blockchain, aiming for a world where users themselves control digital identities, personal data management, and data sharing with other users and companies. Is this why you guys reported to me the other day that if you use your cell phone and you Google Sony blockchain or something like that, it comes up and mentions Jasmy, I guess, immediately? I tried to do it on my own and wasn't able to confirm that, but it sounds pretty bullish in itself, does it not? In addition, in digital rights management solutions for music, etc., we aim to enable creators themselves to manage digital rights to realize reliable and immediate royalty payments. Now, you may be thinking, wow, that's awesome. You may also be thinking, oh, that doesn't matter. But I will tell you this much. It does matter, and you should pay attention to that. Why is that? This is now yet another, in my opinion, confirmation, and you can look more into it if you want to nerd it out, of why that's huge, why that's big. As you guys know, I'm personally invested, and by the way, none of what I'm telling you guys is financial advice. I just provide you guys news, updates, education. But as you guys know, I am personally invested into Audius, ticker symbol audio. I understand that, you know, the concept of, like, for instance, you know, I'll use this example, Snoop Dogg, for instance. You know, he holds the, I guess you could say, the main ownership, if you will, and rights to Death Row Records, finally, after all these years. But back in the 90s, I mean, you know, that was a real problem for a lot of artists, whether on Death Row Records or whatever other record label. Being able to hold those digital rights and so on and not getting screwed out of, you know, getting rightfully paid on the royalties of what you produce as an artist. And that's one thing I love about audio. Okay. I think it's a great platform. I think, you know, that's going to be one that I obviously will probably take a lot of profits at the height of this next bull market. And I'll be proud to do so. But when I see things labeled here, this is what impresses me consistently about Jasmy, is basically that. This is now another utility layer that you may not even been aware of. Right, absolutely. So if I'm excited about audio, which I basically am, I am that much more excited to see this tied into, for instance, Jasmy. And hopefully you are as well. As we get further into this, you see how this is all broken down, right? The identities, the personal data, digital copyright, crypto assets goes to a digital wallet. Hence why we were talking about the Jasmy super wallet. I really personally feel as though this is the breakdown, literally, of just that, the super wallet. And we're going to get more information about it. You know, Harright can only tease so much about it. I understand that in regards to NDAs and so on. I think that's why he mentioned a little bit about it and so on, because he understands, like, the community wants something. But it goes from there to the third parties. But you better believe that you are not going to be able to, or the third parties are not going to be able to just take that data freely. Don't work like that. This is not the United States. This is not Google Chrome. This is not, hey, my cell phone is literally programmed, because I just got a new cell phone not that long ago, you know, to literally freely give away all this data to whoever wants it. Like I was mentioned before, you know, talking with my friend about, hey, I need to get a new barbecue grill. Oh, and he was talking about, like, well, you know, why don't you just get like a cheap one for now, like a Weber barbecue grill? I don't know about that. And then boom, all of a sudden I get all this, you know, plagued with ads about Weber barbecue grills. I have nothing against Weber and barbecue grills, but maybe I don't want to look at that stuff right now. But the point is, third parties, you know, that option, being able to monetize that data, and even from a, let's face it, a musical point of view. This last part before we kick it back into the comments, this is good stuff. Okay, So, sensing IoT platform for sustainability, as in the Internet of Things. In order to realize a sustainable society, again, come on, guys, you know where we're going. The concept of Society 5.0. I mean, are we not paying attention to this? It is important not to deal with the environmental problems after they occur, but to always keep an eye on various events and things on Earth, detect signs of change, and prevent problems before they occur. It says achieving this requires devices. And again, just like I mentioned before, just because you don't agree with us here in the United States, understand there's a whole market on the other side of the world. You know, if we're the West, they're the Far East, if you will. There's a whole market for this stuff. So are we going to be naive to say, well, you know, it's just not going to work out here in America? Okay, well, out here in America, maybe it's not going to work. But you know what? It could very well work on the opposite side of the world. And I think that's obviously what's going on. It's a collaborative group of efforts of people or organizations to create the Internet of Things, kind of like what was mentioned in an example of a motion picture. Not one single person makes a motion picture or a big budget motion picture. That's why you see like thousands of people in the credits, and the credits are like sometimes 15 to 20 minutes long. I look at Jasmy as being part of the greater scheme of things, a collaborative group of them through former Sony executives working with the government and other key players that are involved with AI, you name it, to get this job done of Society 5.0. How much is Society 5.0 going to be worth, right? The smart cities and so on. When you think about that in itself, a city, how much, you know, could that be worth, right? When we talk about even just traditional cities, the infrastructure that's built on these traditional cities, the construction companies, the, you know, the local city planners, and, you know, all of that. Again, a whole collaborative group of people coming together to achieve one goal, and that is the betterment of society. So that is the way I'm going to look at some of this. Anyway, achieving this requirement, devices and networks that can function in mountainous, that's quite a word, and coastal areas that are not covered by conventional communications and power supply infrastructure is needed. Therefore, Sony has developed an integrated, I pronounced that wrong, platform from ultra low power edge AI processors. Think about this. System software edge AI development tools, ultra wide sensing networks, and predictive analysis using the cloud. Again, the Internet of Things. In addition to prevention, we will also contribute to the detection of signs of disasters caused by climate change and the improvement of productivity in the agriculture and livestock industries. It gives you literally a breakdown of how this all works. And you can see it right here. And even on the bottom, I'm not going to read all this because you can see it. This part is hard to read, so I'll read, or see, I should say. So I'll read this part to you. Advanced sectors plus edge AI devices observe assets continuously and transmit low bit rate data when an incident is detected. I mean, I'm not saying that they're trying to create like 15-minute cities. I don't think it's anything that extreme. Maybe, you know, in other parts of the world other than Japan, they'll do some of this stuff. But you know what? The way I look at it is this could be used for good. It could also be used for bad. But you know what? I'm not the one, you know, like in control of that, you know, just like I was mentioning also earlier. CBDCs could be used for good, they could be used for bad. Am I going to sit on the sideline and wait for somebody else to get rich off of that? No, my days of doing that are done. All right, yeah, give Icy Amphibian a follow. You know, he's up there, right, with Dip Metaverse and so on, as far as great Jasmy coverage. All right, so he states, Global has stated, you know, Binance Global has stated that Japanese users will be able to start migrating to the new Binance Japan platform by August 1st. If anything, that's a good update in itself, right? We've been talking about this whole concept of Binance and so on. You know, a lot of us are not big fans of Binance, especially with, you know, them putting Jasmy in the innovation hub, right? Or innovation zone. But listen to what's mentioned here. Jasmy Super Wallet, because we are definitely on that subject of Jasmy Super Wallet still. So Jasmy Super Wallet to be able to access Binance directly without the need of the Binance app. Again, this is why Haro was hinting some of this stuff a couple months ago, If you remember that, the concept of not even needing a centralized exchange. You know, some people are like, oh, you guys are part of the Jasmy army. You guys are just saying that because you guys are pissed off that you got moved to the innovation zone. Okay, I get where you're coming from, but it's more to it than just that, was it not? This actually is a real thing. So yes, not having to access the Binance app, using that super wall, that's pretty big. Will Binance Japan KYC Jasmy? And that's a good question. All right. And of course, level 8 has all this information in Japanese, and I'm going to bring it to you guys from his post because you know what? It needs to get mentioned. Okay. So if anything, I will show you guys this real quick. Let's pull this up, translate the tweet, and this comes from level 8. So he states, Jasmy, will you be able to access Binance from Super Wallet without the Binance app? KYC data. Even if you can KYC with Jasmy Super Wallet, who are you from the Binance side? It's going to be, for instance, the English is not perfect, but does it make sense if KYC data is not shared? Mr. Hara, what will you announce at IVS? Now, Hara did talk about a little bit about this, but it's not been 100% confirmed. But what I want to show you guys is some of what's referenced here. So let's jump to this. And here's some of the good, juicy stuff, if you want to call it this. This is from this guy named Houston. He states, before we get into the actual visualizations there, he says, Jasmy, SoftBank. He says, no, I may be wrong. Do your own research. I don't think he's wrong, to be honest. I really don't think he's wrong on this at all. Because literally you're seeing on the visualizations some of the confirmation, if you will. I mean, by all means, do more of your own research when it comes to this. If you have any doubts about this, zoom in on attached images. We're going to do that. We're going to zoom in a little bit more here in a bit. But draw your attention to where it says carbon credit token crediting through SoftBank's sensors, and ask yourself, what is, quote, SoftBank sensors, right? The Internet of Things, basically. Number 2, voluntary credit. 1 token equals 1 kg CO2 credit, for instance, right? We're talking about, credit consortiums. And guys, let's be honest, Jasmy's not the only one. I mean, come on, there's Hedera, there's other ones, right? Number 3, record on the consortium blockchain, issue carbon credits as quote unquote tokens. He, of course, did some research about SoftBank and sensors, and this is what he found. And of course, we'll jump into some of these visualizations in a bit. Wiliot. You may be wondering, who the heck is Wiliot? They offer, listen to this, battery-free Internet of Things sensors. And they just raised $200 million from SoftBank. This quote, harvests all required energy from ambient radio waves. I mean, this sounds like Society 5.0 to me. There's, of course, a reference from Dip Metaverse. He did answer your questions, blah, 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 right? So let's show you guys this, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit more. And here we go. All right. The carbon credit token crediting through SoftBank sensors. And you did see in that brief AMA, there's Hara on the top right. And he was talking about some of this. Of course, I don't know if it was necessarily in Japanese at that point. But there's some great catches here. Some guys took screenshots. GHG reduction equals producing of the carbon offsets. Richard Common Sense Crypto is always talking about, like, hey, whether we like it or not, carbon offsets, get used to it. He's right. Afforestation, carbon farming, renewable energy, so on and so forth, right? Carbon farming, all sorts of stuff. I'll get to some of the juicy stuff here. Evaluation management using sensor information and AI. Again, it points right to SoftBank sensors. You can record on their consortium blockchain, issue carbon credits as quote unquote tokens. There's credits that can be validated periodically. And look what's mentioned here, Jasmy. I wasn't just going to give you guys something that's just, oh, you're trying to give me a nothing burger, Max. You're trying to give me what's a possibility. No, that's not the case. Kyushu University Urban Institute shows Jasmy. Voluntary credits, 1 token equals 1 of these, carbon credits, if you will. From here, you get distribution through the local voluntary markets. Many different platforms are on this and so on. It shows, I know it's hard to read this, Nagano Prefecture. If I'm not mistaken, not Kazuma Sato, Kunitaki Ando, I believe, is the president of the University of Nagano, if I'm not mistaken. So you already understand that connection, because they have that university. And then on top of that, there's other universities that they're partnered with, like Kyushu University Urban Institute, which is on the bottom middle part of this page. Hopefully you see this. Let me double check you guys can see this. You guys can see that. All right, a little bit more. You see, for instance, over here, traceability of carbon credits, validation of carbon credits, tradability of carbon credits, low transaction fee with a smart contract. Hence why, some people are referencing, like, we got to get off the ERC20, because that's obviously not going to be a low transaction fee. Again, the Jasmy team have addressed that concern. I think we eventually get to our own blockchain. We're all rooting for that. Prevention of double dealing of carbon credits. Take control of carbon credit ownership. So there's that. That's pretty big in itself. Now, what I'm going to jump to is a little bit more of what we have here, and after that, we'll wrap it up. But what I want to show you, and let me jump back to this, and by all means, please smash the like, because I know that we're kind of losing some people now. Let's jump to this. Hold on a second. Let's go to the next page. This is good stuff. So on this one, let me just make this bigger, because I know you guys like it really huge, so you can see it on your TV or your phone. All right, there we go. Here's the reference from SoftBank, because some of you guys are going to like, yeah, this is nothing burger, Max. I need to have a source. Well, of course you need to have a source, right? I'm going to tell my students that, give me two sources, especially if it's at the collegiate level, in APA format, right? Well, we got to have sources. So I got to give you some sources. SoftBank leads from Forbes. Look what's mentioned here. SoftBank leads $200 million, just like that guy mentioned, investment into printable, battery-free Internet of Things startup, which is Wiliot. All right. When was that referenced? Originally on July 27, 2021, almost exactly 2 years from now. Crazy stuff. Getting back into this, I'm going to show you the last page, and this ought to wake you up a little bit. So this is pretty cool stuff. And if anything, smash that like. Let's jump into it. I'm going to come off the screen for a brief moment. Take off some banners for just a brief moment. And we're going to play this. Here we go. All right, that was pretty cool. Glad to share that with you guys, of course. That rounds off that particular part. On this next thing we're going to show you real quick is the Jasmy English summary, and it's derived from this Google Drive account. And let me show you guys this for just a brief moment. All right. So let's jump into this. And if anything, here it is. Here's the translation. from level 8. And I'm going to come back in the frame. And on this one, it states, summarize using Google Lens from the original image. This is the original the original one in Japanese. He says, actually, this one has more information, but when translating, the text is too small to read. So he, of course, likes to focus on readability. So I have gone ahead and downloaded it, and I'm going to take you through this right now. We're not going to read all 91 pages of this, obviously. But if anything, this will be some of the quote-unquote juicy stuff. Because some people basically think that I make up stuff when it comes to DFFT. And you know what? I'm tired of that. I'm absolutely tired of that. I'm tired of reading the stupid comments on the recorded videos that get filtered, but I still read them anyway. You guys don't see them. And I've had some nut jobs basically tell me that I'm full of crap when it comes to DFFT and Jasmy. So I hope some of these nut jobs are watching this. This one is for you. All right. Boom. Look what's mentioned here. Personal information wallet, personal data lockers / data utilization, society 5.0, interoperability, DFFT, trusted web. Oh, well, I'm a fudder. I just like to take what's on the surface. And I didn't realize that they're really using some of these models. I didn't realize that Maximus is, quoting some of these things because he actually has something to back it up. I think he's just a shiller. I just think he likes to shill us because he bought the top. That's what one guy said. Can you imagine that? This guy claims I bought at the top at like $4.50 per Jasmy. Give me a freaking break, man. All right. Smart city plan, mobility as a service plan for IoT equipment. Look at digital twins, simultaneous promotion of carbon credits, just like I mentioned on the previous ones, hence why I gave you this whole big outline. Digital garden city concept, that sounds cool. Jasmy's, building out Jasmy's ecosystem. Now, there's a lot that's mentioned here, and maybe on another deep dive, again, into some of the other parts. Let me show you the next part about DFFT. DFFT trusted web. Look at this picture that references DFFT. Accumulation of reliable data is necessary for the development of AI. Boom, DFFT, data free flow with trust. Reliable, free data transactions between individuals, companies, etc. Free cross-border data flow. Renewal of regulations and rules, enhancing mutuality of rules in each country and promoting competition. Each country. We'll give you an example of why each country is so important. We'll give you another example, especially for the flooders who just don't understand anything. Let's just be honest. Who just want to FUD stuff because that's just all they like to do. Or they just want to short this stuff. I don't know. But yes, we'll definitely give you more examples of how this is tied into other countries and how this is literally the regulatory framework that we're talking about. I'm just not trying to talk about because it sounds cool. But it's an actual real thing. Enhancing, for instance, or providing efficiency of improvement of business and administrative services, prevent unfair competition, and protecting of copyrights and personal information. Again, DFFT. Let's jump to this part right here. Trusted web. I mean, a lot of this is in Japanese. Negotiated trust. We always talk about the internet of trust. Can you trust B? This guy's A. Is B's handling of the provided data reliable? And this guy, he's the other guy. Can you trust the data provider? I mean, just give you some examples. But anyway, I thought I would share some of that stuff. I mean, there's a lot that's mentioned here for somebody who wants to take more of a deep dive, and maybe I am the guy that does that. But I don't know. Some people are basically stating that, all this talk about DFFT, you put too much emphasis on DFFT, and then boom, we see it literally provided from this Jasmy, PDF, right? Like this Web3 white paper, if you will, 91 freaking pages of it. And thank God it's interpreted into English. So glad to bring that to you guys. And to round things off, finally, here is this. And here is the guy who's like literally the top proponent of data free flow with trust, just in case you're a newcomer to all this and you don't understand it. It's the one, the only Terra Luna. digital minister, former minister of administrative affairs, former defense minister, you name it, right? But he basically speaking, as of recently, he just went to, the state secretary of Finland, for crying out loud. The main topics were Finland's Aurora AI National Artificial Intelligence Program and digital identity reform. Before that, on the 12th, he met up with another person from Finland, right? Look what it says. Data free flow with trust, DFFT, an important initiative from Japan, vital to establish global rules for digital trade. And again, like I showed you guys from the Jasmy paper, reference to that. That's why I tie in all this stuff about data free flow with trust. It literally is the regulatory framework for the entire world. The European Union has already embraced it, and he's meeting with all these other top officials as well. You're trying to tell me that Japan is really going to waste their time with all these other countries if they're not understanding the greater, bigger scheme of things? I don't think so. All right. So I thought I'd show you guys that. That actually concludes our Jasmy coverage.